everyone. We're just shy of 11 o'clock on our end. We have 10:58, so we're going to give it just a couple of minutes. I think if your screens are on, you'll see our opening screen here, and we'll just get started in a couple of minutes, giving people just a bit of time to join. We won't hold it for too long, but we want to just make sure people have a little bit more time to join. So welcome, and we'll get started soon. Okay, so we have 11 o'clock on our end here, and in the interest of not holding people up, we will go ahead and get started, everyone. So first off, thank you for attending, all of you. We greatly appreciate it. And we want to, just before we get started with any housekeeping and discussion, we want to acknowledge that we are holding this webinar on the unceded territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations. And by way of introduction, my name is Alex, and I'm with my colleague Tiffany Barker. Hello. And we'll both be going through this presentation today. Tiffany and I are both members of the integration team that are working with the BC Coalition of Nursing Associations and the Nurses and Nurse Practitioners of BC in moving this project forward. So we're delighted to be here and delighted to be able to offer this webinar. We actually don't have a very, very long presentation. Our intention was to provide a long space of time for questions and comments because, of course, as we're doing this, the whole point of this process is to engage in a consultative process. So you'll hear from us for a bit. We'll go through some slides, provide some foundational information, but the point for us will be to answer your questions. So I want to note as well that this is a true webinar, and as such, the lines are muted. You'll notice on your end, you've got kind of a long, skinny box that's appeared on the right side of your screen. That long, skinny box has a questions option. You'll be able to question and then type your question rather, and then hit send. And that will come to us. And we will answer those questions at the end of the webinar. So don't despair, we will be able to answer your questions. And this webinar will be recorded. And just want to note as well, this is the first of our webinars, but it is definitely and most certainly not the last. We've got another one scheduled for January. We're just finalizing a date, and everything will be archived for everyone to review on the NNPBC.com website at later times. So not to worry, everything will be up and posted. We've conducted a series of face-to-face consultations. As noted, this is our first webinar, and we have more to come. So consultation is a process, as I'm sure absolutely everyone on this call is aware, and it's our opportunity to be able to reach people to talk to you about the Nurses and Nurse Practitioners of BC, or NNPBC, in a variety of ways. So we will be hosting, as noted, webinars. We'll be conducting more face-to-face options. We've got a Facebook page, a Shell website app, some social media. So we also have an email, info@nnpbc.com, so you can contact us in any manner of ways that you'd like to. So with that said, we will go ahead and get started. Oh, sorry, welcome screen. So we'll go to the next one. Thanks, Tiffany. Okay, so this is just an opportunity for us before we jump into conversation. I'll be providing some background and kind of historical context around the development and the evolution of this process. And we like to talk about the 3 pillars of nursing because we want to provide just a bit of context about where a professional association kind of sits in and amongst our other nursing bodies in this province. We recognize that, certainly there can be a bit of confusion about who does what and what each of the distinct roles are. So when we talk about this slide, we like to think of it, you can see we've got our 3 circles orientation here, but we like to think of it kind of as a 3-legged stool. We have the regulator, CRNBC, CLPNBC, CRPNBC, and their mandate is to protect the public. That is their sole mandate, public protection. The union works on behalf of nurses, negotiating salary, working conditions, et cetera. Primarily, that's their primary function. And the professional association serves as the advocacy, that professional voice for nursing. So at a high level, we often say, college is about the public, the union is about nurses, and the professional associations are about nursing. So there's a bit of a distinction there about, what each of the groups does. Now, I'll provide just a couple of examples that I think may help to sort of set the context a little bit. So in the event of, say, something like a medication error, each of the 3 bodies would handle that a little bit differently. So the college would investigate what would need to happen in terms of remediation and take the necessary steps to ensure that the public is protected. The union's job would be to offer the particular nurse in question support during the process, even potentially coming with them to meetings, ensuring that he or she is aware of their rights and what they can do in this particular situation. And the association in this case may or may not necessarily do something. So for us, if this is kind of a one-off, we have it handled by other parts of the nursing family in this province. But if we start hearing that, this particular unit or hospital, something is happening over and over again, it can point to a larger, more systemic issue. And for us, looking at that systemic issue and trying to advocate about whatever that systemic issue is, right, advocating for changes in order to ensure that this does not keep happening is where we would come in. In terms of connection to government, the regulatory college then, for example, enacts government legislation. The union bargains with government for compensation and benefits, and the association, again, advocates for the profession by being that professional nursing voice at the policy table. Absolutely, there's opportunity for overlap, and the hope is that there is always opportunity for collaboration as required amongst the groups. All right. Okay, so in the beginning, so if you're not familiar with the work of the BC CNA, again, BC Coalition of Nursing Associations, we wanted to give you a little bit of history, as I said, to sort of lead through how we've gotten to where we are today. So in 2013, a very small group of nurse leaders came together because there were some, I guess, troubling rumors is the best way to put it, regarding nurse practitioners in the province. So government wasn't, at this point, particularly thrilled with the way nurse practitioner implementation was going. And they were hearing a lot from physicians about physician assistants, and there was a real sort of crisis for nurse practitioners in terms of whether or not they would sort of continue to be integrated into the system. So this was obviously a concern. And a group of nurses who at this point were comprised of registered nurses and nurse practitioners met to talk about this because this was obviously a big issue. What was interesting was that at this meeting, it didn't take particularly long, probably halfway through the day, the realization was that while the particular issue they had met to discuss may be an NP issue, that the reality of the situation was that the entire nursing profession was in a bit of a crisis. The nursing directorate had been dissolved, the professional voice at policy tables was lacking, and there was effectively a bit of a crisis in terms of the profession and making sure that that professional voice was being heard. So this small group of nurses agreed to meet regularly to continue to discuss issues that might impact nursing and get together. Now, again, at this point, just to stress, this was a group made up of RNs and NPs, and they were without a name. You know, this was BC Primary Care Nursing Coalition came along, and there were many names at that point, but this was kind of a bit of an ad hoc sort of as needed kind of meeting situation that was going on at the beginning. So fast forward about a year, and throughout the course of those initial meetings, it did become clear that more formality was going to be needed in order to really push the nursing agenda forward at the policy table. So in 2014, name change happened, and again, there was a series of names. They became the BC Coalition of Nursing Professionals, and there was an impetus at that point to really drive forward an agenda of who the group was, what they were going to do, and what issues they were going to develop. And they began at that point actually to begin working on a nursing strategy and connected with individuals who could help everyone sort of think about what a reasonable composition of this new coalition might be. And it was at this point that the group reached out to the Licensed Practical Nurses Association of BC. LPN-ABC is our oldest association in the province, having been around for 60 years, and connected with LPNs, recognizing that having LPNs as part of this structure was important. And at that point, there was not an association of registered psychiatric nurses, so the connections were made through the college to tap into some RPN leadership. Now, RPNs actually were so interested in becoming part of this and so understood the need to become part of this that they actually formed their association in response to this so that they could have an official seat at the table as ARPNBC. Okay, so in 2015, just sort of moving along a little bit here in the years, several things started to get formalized. So the group came to the realization that equal representation at the board table, at this new coalition board table, the name at this point became BC Coalition of Nursing Associations, BCCNA. It was quite clear in the context of the discussions that equal representation was important. Proportional representation was not something that the group wanted to go to because they had learned over the couple of years or so they'd been meeting at this point that equality in numbers fostered trust and a feeling that one group could not or would not overtake the conversation. And it became really clear that equal, making sure that that was retained, was the best way to be sure that the voices at the table had a sense of equality and recognized that there was no one particular dominating the other. It was also at this point, I should note that in addition to the professional associations, the Nursing Education Council of BC came on board as well, again, recognizing the need to have educators as part of this. And the formalization process began. So in 2015, the BCCNA supported formally the One College work that, as we know, is happening now, is moving forward. There was a focused and single nursing response to regulations, to the nursing regulations that had come out. And in July of 2015, I should say, there was a policy forum in which all nursing designations, students, and government were represented. And the idea was to providing ideas and suggestions from nursing around the BC Ministry of Health policy papers. So all of that started to happen at this point. And then the group also realized they required a terms of reference. So the terms of reference, I just want to spend a little bit of time on this because it'll set the stage for what Tiffany's going to talk about in just a couple of minutes as we get to the today point. The terms of reference is located on the BC Coalition website, which is bccna.com. And, you know, it's a terms of reference. So all the things you'd expect to find in a terms of reference were there. But most importantly, it set the stage for the representation and the composition of the board. So 3 reps from the Registered Nurses Association, 3 psychiatric, 3 BCNPA, 3 LPN-ABC, 3 NECBC. So the idea was that each group had the opportunity to appoint 3 members from their own elected boards. And in most cases, this was the president, president-elect, vice president, et cetera. And this, you know, as we've talked about a little bit, as I've mentioned, this was an enormously important part of the overall strategy because the necessity of equality had become clear as the group had met over the years, and it was important. So whether it's 500 nurse practitioners, 40,000 representatives of registered nursing, the numbers on this particular council are the same. So the board of the BCCNA is exactly the same number of representatives. So, I'll say just a little bit, just sort of watching the evolution of this group. This model has really proven itself over time. The connections between the professions and the people that are on this board have really become profound. And I think, one of the greater moments of clarity came relatively early on when, a particular designation was talking about issues and challenges. I think the LPNs were talking about issues and challenges they face in the system. And the NPs, while they may have a different lens, they realized that their issues and challenges were largely the same. So the reality is the group really discovered that there was kind of a common thread that ran through the entirety of nursing, and they were able to represent that at this table. So at this point, the terms of reference had been developed, and then the Constitution and bylaws were effectively birthed out of this entire structure. So we're almost officially official. So in early 2016, the BCCNA Board of Directors met with the ministry, regulators, chief nursing officers to discuss the way forward for the coalition, to talk about One College, where things were going. In May, there was the third annual day at the legislature in which all nursing professions, all designations and students come together to meet with government. May of 2016 as well, the BCCNA formalized under the BC Societies Act. And in this year as well, particularly at the end of 2016, there was a concerted effort to bring forward a unified single response to the opioid crisis. That was through 16 and then into this year as well. Forums were hosted. Judy Darcy, the Minister of Mental Health and Addictions, utilizes the BC Coalition of Nursing Associations board and group to bring forward, to come to them for ideas, for conversation, et cetera. So this has become a really cohesive and solid group of people who are working towards the advancement of nursing as a profession as a whole with this equality represented at the table. So, all right. So now, here we are at today. So over to you, Tiffany, and I'm going to have a glass of water. I've got a frog in my throat.
Okay, so yes, it does bring us to today. And we have done a lot of work so far to bring the voice of the nursing professions together, but we do know that there is more work to be done, and that even though we're collaboratively as a coalition, we're still not one nursing voice, and that is one of the primary reasons that we are coming together into one association, so that we can all be one strong voice representing nurses of BC. And stakeholders already have expectations of us. We've heard many times from government and other stakeholders that when they want to speak to nurses, they want to they want a one-stop shop, essentially. They want to hear from all of the nursing designations, and they don't want to have to go around to 4 different associations to collect varying opinions and feedback. They want to hear from nurses as a whole. So bringing us together will help to improve those relations with our stakeholders. We also know that the 3, as we've mentioned, the 3 colleges are merging together. Within the next 6 months, there'll be one nursing regulator, and so we feel it's important for us to reflect that merger in the way that our professional associations also coming together and being one strong advocacy voice. The other thing that we know is the CNA in their latest board meeting in the fall has made a landmark decision to bring RPNs and LPNs into the CNA fold, and they will be proposing formal bylaw changes in June 2018 to expand membership to include LPNs and RPNs, and that's something we're really excited about, and it really does reflect the growing sense across the country that nurses can and should work together and be one strong voice. So, in bringing together all 4 designations, we had a session in May to bring together all of the boards of the elected officials of the different associations. And we had a brainstorming session about what would the guiding principles be, and what would they look like for this One Nursing Association going forward. And these will be the foundation for all of our work going forward. So there's 10 of them, and I don't, in the interest of time, I'm not going to read them all out, but I do encourage you to read them and reflect on them. And please let us know if you feel that we've missed something, because we want the guiding principles to reflect the values and ways of knowing and ways of being for all nurses, and so we value your feedback in regard to these principles. It was heartening at this session that it really, even though there was a large and diverse group of nurses from different designations who came together to talk about this, it didn't take long to land on these principles, and so we feel heartened that there are many common values and principles that do guide our nursing work. So this brings us to our name, which you've seen, Nurses and Nurse Practitioners of BC. And this is, of course, as with everything related to the association, it's not set in stone right now. This is our draft name. We are moving forward with it right now, recognizing that, as with many things, there may be changes to the name and indeed many changes to what the association may look like in time. This name is as a result of many challenging and lots of conversations and debate and discussion, and it wasn't a decision that was taken lightly by the coalition by any stretch of the imagination. There were lots of factors to consider, from the very logistical considerations of what is available on the corporate registry and other websites available, and which acronyms blend together well, to other important considerations, and we wanted to ensure that there was a balance of ensuring that all designations feel recognized in the name, and also ensuring that the hard work that MPs have done in BC since 2005 to gain that public acceptance and awareness isn't lost. So this is what we've landed on, and we definitely recommend, as with everything about the association, again, feedback is welcome on the name. Okay, so this is our proposed governance model, and it does reflect that balanced representation. As Alex was pointing out, we are mirroring what is occurring currently with the coalition in having equal representation from each of the 4 designations. So you'll see that there are 4 separate councils that represent each of the designations. So there's an RN council, an RPN council, MP council, and LPN council, and each of those will have elected representatives, much the same as the associations as they exist right now. And then each of those will then have 2 representatives on the broader board of directors for the NNPBC itself, which will have fiduciary responsibility for the association, as well as responsibility for determining priorities for nursing issues as a whole. And we also have several other representatives on the board. There will be a representative from NECBC, a public representative, a student representative, and an Indigenous nursing representative. And all of these, we feel it's very important to have these diverse and unique voices coming to the table to help guide the decisions around nursing policy and advocacy work. And again, we welcome your feedback on this model. So association boards would become councils. And so the councils are going to be where the vibrant work of each of the designations happens. They will be responsible for identifying issues, speaking to members of their designation, bringing forward policy issues. They're going to be that's the voices of each of the designations, and just want to ensure everyone that these are really important parts of the association moving forward, and each designation will be have a strong voice represented within these councils. They're going to hold elections for council members in the same way that all of the associations currently do. And we've also we want to include an Indigenous nursing representative on each of the councils. We feel this is very important. And then that Indigenous nursing, from the 4 Indigenous nursing representatives, one of those will be chosen to be the Indigenous nursing representative on the NNPBC board on a rotating basis. The councils will manage a small budget in order to meet and also to do some of the important work related to their designation, and they will continue to meet on a regular basis, roughly 6 to 8 times a year. They will really operate as autonomous councils, with the added benefit of having that collaboration with the other councils, and then being able to feed up their priorities related to their designation to the NNPBC board, who will then look at the different issues facing the designations and work on overarching policy and advocacy related to nursing as a whole. We want to continue our strong relationship with our National Nursing Association, the Canadian Nurses Association. And as I mentioned, they are moving towards bringing all designations into their fold as well. So they feel that that's important in the same way that we do. As you know, a portion of the association fees do go towards the nursing association. So we're going to be working closely with them to determine what the best model moving forward in terms of paying our portion of fees towards CNA, and looking at what our jurisdictional representation will look like moving forward. So what about fees? We do anticipate that this will be a question, so we hope to provide some information. Now, many of the decisions around fees are still to be made. However, we do now know for sure that in 2018, association fees will not change for any of the professional designations. And any fee changes you will see from the college or union are not something that we can control. So we are going to be working towards establishing a fee collection with the One Nurse Regulator when they become official. And also in regards to fees, we want to hear from you. We want to hear when you think about the fees that you pay to an association, what do you want those to go towards? What kinds of programs and services and opportunities do you want your association to provide? And that'll really help us in figuring out what your association can do for you, and help us with decision making and about the fees. So more to come on that, but yeah, just to say that definitely there are decisions to be made, and moving forward. So in conclusion, we want to hear from you. This is, as Alex said, it's a consultation, and nothing is set in stone. The one thing that is set in stone is that we are going to all come together as one strong nursing voice, but what that exactly looks like is still open to discussion, and we value your input and your feedback. and we want to hear from you. So we do have a website available where we have materials and a survey. We also have information about consultations that are happening in your area, as well as the consultation request form. And we encourage you to visit the website NNPBC.com to look at the information. We're going to have this webinar up on it as well if you want to revisit it. And yes, please get in contact. We value all feedback from you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Tiffany. So we're going to go ahead and open things up for questions at this point. Looks like we have one that's come in so far. And please don't hesitate. Go ahead and type your questions. We'll read them out. So the question comes from Nicole Narin, who asked, can you tell me a bit about how the councils will be run? What type of structure will they have? Tiffany, do you want to field that one?
Sure. So the councils, as I mentioned, will all have elected representatives from each of the designations. So, for example, the LPN Council will have a number of elected representatives from that designation, and they will be given a small budget in which to use for coming together for face-to-face meetings to discuss what the priorities are and what are the issues related to the individual designations. And then they will also, within that budget, they may want to use some of that budget to work on a specific issue that's only related to their specific designation. So they do have that autonomy to do that kind of work. We really feel like these are going to be vibrant and very useful and important parts of the association. They're also going to be the media spokespeople for the designations. If a member of the public or the media wants to know something specific to an RPN or an LPN issue, you can be assured that there will be an LPN responding to an LPN issue, and it won't be an NP speaking to an LPN issue. So we just want to ensure that representation is there. And then, as I mentioned, each of the councils will then appoint two representatives to sit on the NNPBC board to help to prioritize and work on nursing issues and policy that impact nursing as a whole.
Great. All right. Other questions? Got another one coming in. Oops, sorry. Okay, so the question is, sorry, we're just looking at the structure here. How will decisions from the councils come forward to the main board? Okay, so sorry, my apologies. We're just sort of looking at our screen here to make sure we're catching the question. So one question that's come in is, how will decisions from the councils come forward to the organization board? Very good question. Thank you very much for that. As Tiffany has noted, that as we've talked about, the councils obviously have two representatives that they send to that main board. So at that main board table, the representatives from the councils will be able to bring their concerns from their respective designations forward to that particular table, so that they can then discuss the issues and bring forward a concerted nursing response. There will also be opportunity for the councils to interact with one another periodically as well. So the actual councils themselves will have opportunity as large groups to be able to speak with each other. There's also there's been a bit of a discussion about kind of that internal communication piece, so that we can ensure that the issues that are coming up kind of on a weekly, monthly basis from the councils are filtered back through communications to that top level, so that if anything comes up, if there's a dire issue that comes up really specifically that requires response right away, there's an opportunity to manage those quickly. And that's sort of the vision at this point for structure. Do we have other questions in there, Tiffany? Our screen is a little weird here, everyone, so sorry. We're just looking at our little queue. Okay, so there's our first question.
Yeah. I think there's a comment from a nurse in Saskatchewan saying that, we can read it out, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening. Technical difficulties.
So, Joanne, I believe if you'd made a comment, I chatted with you on social media, Joanne. So if you're here from Saskatchewan, the comment has disappeared, and we're very sorry for that. We're fussing with our system here. If you wouldn't mind sending it again, we would appreciate it immensely so we can read it out for you. And we're glad to have you, Joanne. Oh, we see it, Joanne. We see it, Joanne. Sorry.
It is.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. So Joanne from Saskatchewan notes that you are very correct that nursing across the country are watching your work unfold. Congrats on leading the change. Very visionary, very exciting. Well, thank you for that.
Thank you, Joanne. We're glad you could be here. Just wanted to make sure there wasn't a question up above that. Okay, no, we're good. All right, so we'll just give another opportunity for some more questions. And again, please don't be shy. This is your opportunity to ask questions. Oh, we see one that's come in here. I'm sorry, I keep picking up the wrong mouse. Will other types of nurses be added to the board? Yes. So in terms of the board composition, as we've mentioned, the board is comprised of nurses representing each of the designations. So absolutely that will be the case. As we saw, the Nursing Education Council of BC will send forward a representative as well. There'll be one NECBC rep on the council. That person, of course, will be a nurse also. There will be the Indigenous seat that Tiffany mentioned, and that Indigenous seat will be represented by a nurse. It will be a rotating seat. So the idea is that the Indigenous seat will be held by a nurse from each of the respective designations. So I hope that answers that. And we're just looking at the questions here. Bear with us. Coming to the top. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we've answered that one. There's a question about time frame for this. Okay, thank you very much for that. So the time frame for this is we're looking at the spring of 2018 as the target. We don't putting a date on it would be not necessary for us to do at this point. We're still working through some details there, but we are absolutely targeting the spring, May, June-ish of 2018 for this. Okay, keep the questions coming. Okay, so there's a question that's come in. If I want to have you come talk to my group, how can I make that happen? That's a very good question. Tiffany, do you want to field that?
Sure. So we welcome people who would like to have us come to talk to you to sign up on the NNPBC.com website. There's a request for consultations form that you can fill out, or you can contact us directly through social media or email. Yeah, we're happy to. We want to speak to as many nurses as possible, and so yeah, we welcome any request for consultations.
Yeah, and I think it's fair to say that we're not saying no. So if you want us to come talk to you, if you would like to have us come talk to your group, no matter how big or small, we will figure out a ways to make that happen. It's important to us to be able to do this, important to us to be able to consult with as many nurses as we possibly can and to really spread the word on this. So please don't be shy. We would love to come talk to you and see you at your work sites, whatever works best. We can host webinars, we can be really creative. That's our commitment, to be creative with you. All right, so we're just pouring through our question list here. So again, keep them coming. Don't be shy. Our window is teeny weeny, which is why we're taking a few seconds to look through them. We don't want to miss anyone's questions. Okay, issues. So that's a good question. So someone has asked, what types of issues have we worked on together as a group? And by the question is, what types of issues have you worked on together as a group? I'm assuming that we're talking about the BC Coalition of Nursing Associations, obviously, as this entity isn't real yet. And Tiffany, I may forget some here, so please jump in. So in the early days, there was a nursing response done with respect to the nursing regulations, responses to the Ministry of Health policy papers. Specifically, I would say one of the major issues that's really come up in the last 12 to 15 months has been, of course, the opioid crisis. So there was a bit of a call to action that was made to BC nurses associations in the winter of I've lost my years at this point. I think it was December of 2016. And there was a bit of a call to action. A nurse from Ottawa said, basically, you need to do more. You need to do better. And we agreed. We did need to do better. So we hosted a forum around the opioid crisis that included not just the policymakers, government, et cetera, but it included members of the community, in-site nurses, people who were actually really working together on the front lines in the midst of this crisis. And that work has been varied and long and diverse and has continued throughout the course of the year. Again, the BCCNA website, I won't belabor every bit of the detail, but the BCCNA website, there's a materials section, bccna.com. There's a lot of information there. You'll see various years and the various responses that have come forward from this single nursing voice. So you will see a bunch of work there. Did I forget anything, Tiffany?
No, I think that's good.
So can you offer suggestions here? Should we email? You can absolutely feel free to offer them here in this space. You can, of course, email as well. We are big believers in multimodal forms of communication, so you may always email us. We do have an online survey that is on the NNPBC.com website. It's a big button. You can't miss it. That's a place to put suggestions. We've asked specifically for comments and thoughts, and that's a good venue for that. info@nnpbc.com is a good place to send email suggestions, and our commitment with suggestions so that everyone is aware. No one can promise that everything that gets suggested will actually happen, and that would be unrealistic. But our commitment with every suggestion we receive is that what we hear goes back to the BCCNA board. It goes back for fulsome and thoughtful discussion for consideration. And we have, in fact, already in this consultation process received a number of really, really good suggestions. And those suggestions have gone back to the BCCNA board, and they are things that we are working on, some work we need to do behind the scenes that we've learned. So every suggestion is welcome. I hope that answers that.
Okay. Question is, can LPNs who are not members of LPN ABC still make suggestions? Absolutely. Yes, we welcome input from all different designations. It doesn't matter if you are currently a member of your association. In future, you will belong to this broader association, and we welcome your input.
Absolutely. So we welcome the input. The goal here, and again, we hope everyone really keeps this in mind. This is the Nurses of BC's Nursing Association. So whether you are RPN, LPN, NP, RN, it doesn't matter. It's your nursing association, and that's really the goal for this, is to make sure that those voices of those nurses, people who maybe feel that they would like to have a space to offer voice, this is the place to have it. So thank you for that. We have a question about students and voting rights. That's a good question. So we have a student representative on the board. This was part of the broader governance structure, and there is work to be done in terms of the details around exactly the different types of membership that we have, retired, student, et cetera. But from the point of view of having a student rep on the board, it would be a little strange to not have that person have rights to vote as they sit on the board. So we will work out different levels of membership. I realize you're asking about voting rights here, but this also sort of begs the question about levels of membership, student, retired, et cetera. So that's a detail bit that we'll be working on there. We do see more questions. We're going as fast as we can.
Yeah. Let's see here. All right. Sorry, just mind us our tiny screen here.
We're just mostly trying to make sure we've got the questions so far covered. So please bear with us for 2 seconds. Apologies. We're on this itty bitty screen. So there's a question, will we be voting for this as members? It's a little hard to ascertain by what you mean about this as members. I can tell you that the associations will be having extraordinary general meetings that will allow membership to vote in favor of this process. That will be happening. That's part of the process of making this work. The other thing that I should say, just in thinking about voting and in thinking about the layers kind of around this question, bylaws will be posted for review on the NNPBC website at some point. So again, the goal here is for membership to be clear about what a new entity would look like and to be able, through your professional associations, to support this process as it goes forward.
Yeah, and I think we want to highlight as well that voting is one way to have your say, but that's why we're going through this consultative process, because this is going through a consultation. It is a way for us to really gather your feedback and input on all the different pieces. So that's voting is just one part, one way that you can your say and what your association is going to look like and what it can do for you.
Okay, so this is a question here. Could this give us a stronger, more unified voice during the bargaining process? Does the association traditionally support nurses, and will the coalition support nurses pertaining to union matters? Did I get that all, Tiffany?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So that's a good question. And the reality is our impetus behind this is to make sure that the nursing bodies and to hope for the nursing bodies to have strong collaborative relationships and strong connections across the board. So that's the goal. And to have, as we think about it, a strong unified nursing voice going forward. In terms of matters of the union, I don't think we can really comment on what the space that they occupy. That wouldn't be fair of us to do so. But certainly from a broad nursing perspective, I think that we have all seen that the best work comes from collaboration, and it comes from broad support and support that we can have for our nursing colleagues in respective organizations as issues come up that pertain to all of us. But we don't want to step in issues that may not be an association's role to step into. That's not our job. The idea is to make sure everyone retains their functions and their roles. But we do want to work towards collaborative structures across nursing. Have we covered them? We're just doing another scan, everyone. So bear with us just for 2 seconds as we do another scan. Just to make sure we got all of this. Yeah, I think we got that one. Voting as a members. Okay. Voting rights. Nurses on the board. Okay, sorry everyone. We're just scrolling through here. We don't want to miss anything. Okay, this is a question we missed. Okay. Sorry. Apologies to the person who typed this. We just have got this one.
Okay, so the question is, what happens to the existing programs and committees and staff that each of the associations have? So for the most part, we are going to try as much as we can to move forward with any existing programs and services. We're going to transition them to the one association, and of course, all of them will need some changes in order to ensure that they are meeting the needs of all of the different designations. And we anticipate that we'll be offering a broader range of programs and services as well in the future. Existing committees will also continue to exist, and likely there will be more opportunities for different policy tables and committees moving forward. With changes to be made to ensure that all of the committees are representative of each of the different designations. And currently, the plan is to roll over the existing staff into the One Nursing Association.
Okay, so we've just had another question come in. Fee collection agreement. I just saw it come through here as I was scrolling through. So the question was, will you have a fee collection agreement? It's a good question. And certainly our hope is to have a fee collection agreement with the new One Nursing Regulator entity that is evolving as we speak. That is the hope, that is the desire, certainly. We will not be able to begin having those discussions until they have a board of directors that is established and functioning, and that will be, last we heard was about September of 2018. So the goal is to have a fee collection agreement. Fee collection agreement has a great benefit of being able to be sure that fees stay low, which is our desire. We want to be sure that fees are low, and apart from that, we can't speak to the absoluteness by any stretch of the imagination, because those conversations do need to happen. The history of conversations and the pattern of conversations with the One Nursing Regulator has occurred. So, of course, there have been meetings and conversations and discussions, and everyone's been kept apprised of everyone's activities as we've moved forward. So there's been a strong collaborative approach to this point, but we cannot speak to whether or not it will be a certainty by any request. It is the hope, though. We can say that for sure.
Okay, another question. If we are supposed to be one strong collaborative nursing association, why are NPs separated in the title? Are they not nurses too? That is an excellent question, and it's not the first time that we're hearing it. As I mentioned before, the decision on the name has not been taken lightly. So nurse practitioners are an essential part of our nursing community, and as the newest members of our community, we recognize that the NPs have had a long struggle to be recognized and understood in British Columbia and with members of the public. As a nursing profession, it's important to ensure that there is public and professional awareness of the different and broad role of the NP. And this new title signals strong support for this important role within the nursing profession. But yes, to your point, they are nurses too, but they do have this different broad role.
And we have heard that there is that people are chewing on this particular issue, the name, and that's more than fair. I mean, certainly I think it's reasonable to say that everyone has sort of chewed on this issue at some point. We get it. We understand that this is sticky. We actually had a suggestion from a clinical nurse specialist when we did a consultation with the clinical nurse specialist group of BC, and they suggested that sort of in conversation and recognition that NPs have had have had a hard road to sow in British Columbia, and recognition of why the name was landed on where it was, and the very lengthy and very fulsome discussion that occurred around it. They suggested that after a period of 2 or 3 years, that there be opportunity to revisit that and to rethink about it, to think about the name and what that might be. So we've taken that definitely under advisement, and this is one of those pieces that I think we've heard about needing to revisit, at least in a couple of years, as being a critical piece of the puzzle. So we've heard it, we understand that this is an issue, and we certainly appreciate the feedback on it, and are looking at ways in which we can think about it, open the discussion up again in the next couple of years as we go forward. I do hope that answers that.
Just scanning again to make sure we haven't missed any questions.
Apologies, everyone. We have on our end a screen that's about 1 line long for questions, so it's just making it a little bit difficult to kind of scroll through it, but bear with us. We're making sure that we don't miss anything in the process.
So the question is, you said that stakeholders are interested. What is the opinion of government, the health authorities, and others around this? Do they support this?
Good question. Yeah. And the answer is yes. So we have had consultations with health authorities, with chief nursing officers, with government in particular, and everyone is highly, highly, highly supportive of this process. So we have strong support and strong recognition that moving towards this single entity is very much desired by a variety of key stakeholders, government, health authorities, certainly being on that list. Okay. And we're just scrolling again. Just doing a quick scroll, everyone.
Yes.
If you have additional questions, you can keep them coming in. We're not missing them, I hope. Okay. There's Rochelle's comment. Okay. Okay, so that looks like it's it. It's 11:56. We're just going to hang for maybe another couple of minutes. We still recognize there are quite a few people on the line here, so we don't want to not give you a chance to finish typing your question if it's there. So we'll give it just another couple of seconds. I just wanted to mention also with respect to the website that Tiffany's showing you that's on the screen there, the NNPBC.com, it changes really, really, really rapidly. A lot of information gets added. The video section is getting developed as we speak. New materials are added. We've mentioned the survey. Consultations are being added. As noted, we've got a January webinar coming up that we'll be posting in a couple of days. So that site really is a bit of a living entity at this point. It really changes very rapidly, so we encourage you to go and check it as much as you can. If you're on Facebook, there is a Facebook page, as we mentioned. That too has information that comes from the site, so you can get a real feel for what's going on there. If you're someone who enjoys Twitter, that's another vehicle for you where we try to highlight some of what's changed on this particular page. But it is a rapidly evolving site, and certainly as we continue to hear more from people, it will continue to be evolving as a result of the feedback we get. So just wanted to flag that for you all as well. And we're just going to do one last scroll. We're at 11:57 here. Okay. Yep, so I think we've captured it all.
Yeah.
This doesn't close the door. I mean, so if we've captured the questions to this point, that's fantastic. And if we have not, please accept our sincere apologies for our teeny-weeny screen. We will sort that out. So if we haven't captured it, we don't want to miss it. Email it to us at info@nnpbc.com. We will answer you absolutely as fast as possible. Our intention certainly wasn't to skip over questions at all. So by all means, if we've missed it, do let us know. And please continue to come out to webinars, come to consultations, and just join us generally in this collaborative process, and send your friends to the website. Let them know about it. Make sure they come out to consultations, and make sure your voices are heard in this process. That's the most important part of this. So we will, at 11:58, just doing one more quick scan, say thank you very much, everyone, and we hope to see each and every one of you in person and hear from you online through all of these mechanisms we talked about. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll go ahead and close off now.